Hello and thank you for clicking on another one of my videos. I am Screen Scene Guru coming at you with a full review on the new reality check Ross Coulthart interview. This was from a while back when they had wrapped up season 11. We are now currently on season 12 with a few more episodes to go. I believe they just aired episode 10 this week, finding some new discoveries that I'd like to discuss going into um, this interview, and also some more discoveries within the episode. But going into Ross Coulthart, I believe this was the first time he discussed mysteries of Oak Island. I'm loving that he's widening his genre of talking to firsthand whistleblowers, but also going to locations and zooming with people across the globe about what they have to tell on their tales. Now, I know a lot of people have some opinions on how he does his creative journalism. He likes to kind of spruce up the story a bit, make it sound fantastical a bit, but I think that's perfectly fine. He needs to widen his maybe awareness of some of these things. I know he goes into them jokingly and kiddingly, but he goes out of being a well-rounded believer. So that's cool to see. But I just jotted down a bit of notes to go over, talking about Rick and Marty Lagina, the two brothers that have been there for over 11 years on Oak Island in off the coast of Nova Scotia. Um, they've made a ton of discoveries over their time there on the island with their History Channel show, The Curse of Oak Island. Um, like I said, they're on to their 12th season, discovering all kinds of new artifacts throughout oddities of history. But they tell, as the story goes, let's see, in 1761, British soldiers from Massachusetts were forced out of there by the Revolutionary soldiers, and they were told to establish a base on the island, which was originally titled Smith Island, um, and to establish a base, and they began work. It didn't get finished until the 1790s, when a group of three young men went traveling and discovered should we say, a former exploration pit that they formerly called the Money Pit. There were signs of pickaxe work and lumber being brought in, rocks being moved. And so they began the process of digging. This took them, I believe, several years, and they brought in big industry. By the time of the early 1800s, there were several companies on the island moving well-established rocks, clearing down brush to move in trucks and equipment. So the topography of the island was changed, even though there were markers laid out for individuals to find the money pit. There was significant change done to the island where they lost those markers, even though they tried to replace stones to make up for the changes that they did. They did not put them quite in the right place. So that was interesting to hear. But going on to some of their more recent topics, it's a 230-year-old mystery. So it's almost as old as the United States. Pretty much, or if not as old as the United States. They talked about how many people have come to the island throughout history, famous celebrity people, and also historical figures, all looking for treasure, some kind of wealth to help them proceed forward in their goals and their careers. Um, there was a granite stone discovered earlier in the series that had symbols on it, hieroglyphics that some tried to translate as a message that they believed said 40 feet below 2 million pounds are buried. Now, this was just speculative, what this message said. The stone was given to a resident on the island before the resident passed, and now has since the stone has gone missing. Um, but they have since copied it. But it would be good to have the original copy, of course. Um, they go on to say, based on the brothers' extended time on the island, they believe most likely that the Oak Island is a plant for people to get lost in or disguise. Um, Even though they're going to continue their investigation, discovery, digging, and their shoring of the boreholes. They believe a lot of people have been misled, and that perhaps the treasure is um, more in the history, perhaps. Rick believes that there is more history to delve into. Of course, Marty wants the gold and the jewels, and I believe they'll get to them. Um, but there is much more to be discovered, given that they have recently made fascinating uncovers on the beach. The stone block road from the beach, the former wharfs made on the coastline. They've also gone into Rick discusses that at some point in history, they pulled back the beach line by 200 feet and reconfigured the beach to service these flood tunnels. The box drains allowed seawater to enter through these caverns that went throughout the island. They must have tunneled underneath the island and dug these boreholes through and through. And I believe they're discovering now evidence of that. Um, because given that they said that the money pit is approximately 90 feet inland from the coast, they had to have dug holes throughout the island and then cleared through those holes a tunnel. Um, and they believe that then at some point in the 1800s, when the industries came to mine here on the island, they uh, inadvertently uh, triggered the defense mechanism to flood the tunnels, um, since preventing anyone from getting to the treasure. Um, but they have since discovered that there might be points on the island. For instance, Nolan's Cross might be an entrance to the flood tunnels, perhaps access ways that workers used to mine them out before they were flooded. And they might be able to go into one of these and potentially find out where this treasure is located, which is very interesting to hear. Um, like I said, they've been there for a really long time. If you guys haven't caught up the show, you can get it on Prime, I believe, Amazon. You can buy the seasons, or you can watch it on YouTube. I believe you can catch it on YouTube TV and a couple other channels if you don't have the History Channel app. Um, but yeah, very interesting to see that they likened Nolan's Cross has been likened to the Kabbalistic tree of life, or a map on the ground. They believe this is a Templar uh, calling card, Knights Templar calling card. They also believe Sir Francis Bacon might have left some of his manuscripts on the island. They talk about William Shakespeare might have been a group of people instead of one individual. Um, the Shakespeare Folios that Bacon intended for was to create a new Atlantis, he describes, and that his manuscripts were to be sealed in mercury to prevent them from being damaged by water. Um, so, a lot of fascinating things they've discovered just in the last couple months, that they might be getting close to discovering an entry point to the money pit. I know they've been drilling all these boreholes, trying to brute force their way in, even going back out to the beaches, tracking back the flood tunnels, trying to cap them off, trying to prevent the water from flowing underneath the island. I think that's going to be somewhat of a difficult endeavor, but if they can find an access point on the island to where the money pit was or the work being done there, they could potentially send down a drone or even divers and maybe get some actual hands on some of this treasure. They know they've got a box, a wooden crate box that they've tried to bring up. They've actually drilled it deeper into the ground. They need to shore around the sides and bring up it slowly on the corners, and eventually get it to the surface, crack it open. But what are you guys' thoughts on this video? Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for future comments. Make sure to tell people about the channel if you've been watching these videos, because I am doing this for the community, making sure they're staying informed. They've recently uh, come out with one of these holes on the brick path on Oak Island that they believe might have been a well, could have been something to dispose of ship parts, but I believe it might have been an access point to clearing out the tunnels underneath the island. And if so, there should be work evidence, potentially a ladder or tools being discovered down there. I know they found metal pipes and cranking handles. But as soon as they discover evidence of some kind of more human activity, I think they'll really get a handle on finding some of this treasure. Potentially, hopefully, in 2025, if not in the next, two to 3 years. Given the current technology that we have, they should be able to narrow it down. Um, but that'll do it for my video. Thank you for watching, and have a good one, guys. Bye bye.